Hey everybody! Guess who's back? That's right, it's me, the local hooligan and part-time genius with a degree in poor pronunciation. Y'all couldn't get rid of me forever. Jokes aside, January has begun, which means I'm back to posting videos every Sunday. I'm so excited to start sharing content with you guys again. First, a few notes about my break, and then I'll dive right into the subject of this video. So anybody who watched the update video knows that I took a month of December off to focus on repairing my video buffer and spending time with family and friends. And I accomplished one of those things. That's right, I had an amazing time with my family and friends and did a lot of reading and sketching for fun. Had a great Christmas season. But the other thing I did was not work on my video buffer. I know, right? Leave me alone for 1 month, and what do? Now, you see, I meant to do what I said I was going to do and work on the video buffer. But I kept drawing Ninjago, Kai, and before I knew what was going on, it was December 22nd and I had no videos ready. I started not one, but 2 PMVs and another large project. You know, the kind that takes 30 hours. Now, is this wise? No. Productive? Definitely not. Smart? Probably not. But was it fun? You bet. So anybody who likes Ninjago can look forward to at least 2 Ninjago videos in the near future, since I have no self-control. Anyways, the point is, I had a wonderful month, and I spent it doing what I enjoy, which is doing art. So I'm all charged up and ready to get back into the swing of things in January, and I'm going to start that off with a WHATSIFACE. So, today's WHATSIFACE is going to be all about character design. I've gotten into making mood boards recently, so I chose 3 of the ones that I made, and I'm going to be designing 3 Wings of Fire OCs off these mood boards. Stick around because I'll be giving these 3 away as gifts towards the end of the video. Now, some of you may know that I'm also a writer, so character design is kind of my jam. It's actually one of my favorite parts of writing because I also really enjoy getting into the characters' heads and figuring out what motivates them. Now that I'm also an artist, I get to focus on not just the personality aspect, but also the physical aspect of how they look. Of course, keep in mind that everyone is going to have different creative processes, but this is what works for me at the time, so perhaps somebody can benefit from it. There are lots of tricks you can use to give your OC's character, from shape tricks to color tricks to eye tricks. If you want the short and dirty version, watch a Disney movie. They're masters of characterization through shapes. Just pay attention to how the good characters are drawn and how the bad characters are drawn. Ever notice how the main character is often drop dead gorgeous and everyone else has like a warty nose or ugly fingers or something? That's a subtle way to have giant neon arrows pointing at that classic Disney princess saying, "Look at me, I'm the main character." Okay, I'm done. So, when I design characters, I think about a few feelings I have about them. And I'll use that new teenager word, vibes. Yes, I use vibes when I think about characters. Usually I have some inkling of personality or color or something before beginning, so a really good way to start is to block out your shapes with a light gray or something, like you've seen me do here. This just gives your eye a general idea of the shapes without worrying about details, which often really helps me out. After I do the general shape with a lighter color, I will go over it for my sketch, which is where I rough out the eyes, some of the scales, the limbs, etc. And finally, I do my line art before moving on to the most enjoyable stage of character design, the color. So first up, I have this mood board, which I considered using for an Icewing but decided to use for a Silkwing instead. This is Duchess. Now, I know this isn't a very Silkwing name, but a friend suggested it and I just couldn't refuse. Basically, what I did for these characters was pick a mood board and then figure out what vibes it gives me before going from there. Duchess's mood board made me feel for pristine, calm, elegant type designs, so when I roughed out her shapes, she had a pretty typical Silkwing body with very thin limbs and torso. Not only that, but her personality is reflected in her stance as well, one leg delicately lifted, chin tilted up. Now, I feel like Duchess has a very fragile build even for a Silkwing, and she's probably pretty delicate herself. Whether or not she's Silkwing royalty from the old days, or just a Silkwing in better standing than most, I don't know, but either way, this girl's a princess in her own mind. Duchess probably has an idea of how things are supposed to work in her mind, and I doubt she likes it when her routine is upturned. She's one of those people who, when you're like, "Can someone do the dishes?" she goes, "Oh, I'll go find someone to do it," even though you were obviously looking her in the eye and implying you wanted her to do it. Lucky her, she lives on the continent with the chocolate shops, so I imagine she prefers white chocolate if they have it. She's probably on the young side of adulthood, like on the cusp of discovering that she's going to have to get a job soon. I feel like Duchess would be a little snobbish for a Silkwing, but not intentionally. Like, she's super sweet, but kind of naive and entitled. Perhaps her parents babied her a bit, I don't know. Anyways, that's all I have so far for this elegant sweetheart. Hopefully whoever gets her will like her as much as I do. Next up, a Skywing designed for this mood board. I had a really hard time naming this boy, so I kind of went with a joke name someone recommended. So, I present to you Faya the Skywing. Yes, you pronounce it Faya. Anybody with complaints may meet with me on February the 31st to discuss them. Anyways, I usually don't like making overpowered OCs, so I've never created an Animus or a Fire Scales, and I've only done a few hybrids. But for this guy, I really felt like he needed a little extra something to spice things up, and I really like the idea of gold tracing through his scales, so Faya is a Fire Scale Skywing. I am pretty sure I can hear y'all laughing from here. My favorite part of his mood board was the leafy heart in the top middle, and you'll be able to see where I can kind of try to use it in his colors for a bit, but I ultimately decided against it, and I'm really glad I did. Faya has probably been scorned his whole life because of his scales, so he's pretty closed off and guarded when it comes to other dragons. Not sure where he fits if you want to have it related to canon, but for me, he lives somewhere alone in the mountains where there's no vegetation or dragons to burn. Despite his temper, I imagine he feels really guilty whenever he accidentally burns stuff, and he most likely hates his fire scales. How does he have scars if he's a fire scales, you ask? Well, I've always kind of imagined that anything moving fast enough could injure fire scales before melting, so even if you don't like that idea, maybe a rock fell on him and caused those marks. I mean, I know rocks don't cause those kind of scars, but they look cool, so bear with me. Faya likes spicy foods and winter, because in winter things don't burn as easily. He's also built pretty well as far as physique goes. And as far as design goes, I really like his horns. They kind of look like marble thanks to the gold and the dark red, and it's really pretty. Faya is probably an adult, which makes him the oldest of the three that I designed, but he's probably underdeveloped socially since he's never really been around dragons. I'd also imagine his voice is kind of rumbly and hoarse because he's always thirsty. Last, and probably my favorite, Truffle. She's a Rainwing Dragonette I designed for this mood board. As you can tell, I designed the mood board itself when I was craving sugar. As soon as I chose the mood board, I knew I wanted a chubby, cute dragonette with cute colors, so a Rainwing sounded like a good way to get the perfect mix of colors without having a hybrid. She's pretty young, only 2 or 3 in dragon years, but a huge sweetheart and full of this inexhaustible happiness. Like, Sunny on a sugar high, I guess. As you can see, aside from the plump shapes and cute footsies, I used her colors and markings to kind of copy the candy theme I was going off of, from the splatters on her wings and ruff to the white drips on her horns and spines. Honestly, I'm so in love with Truffle. I really wanted to keep her, but I rarely draw OCs, so I wanted someone who'd really love her to have her. Truffle is just the village ball of love. Like, nobody's sure who her family is, but everybody's her uncle or aunt or cousin or something. Nobody can stay mad at her, even if she accidentally gets in trouble. Pyria doesn't have chocolate yet as far as we know, but when she becomes an adult, you can bet Truffle's going to be the one to invent it. So you see, Truffle isn't named after chocolate, the chocolate is going to be named after her. I love everything about this drawing, from the color palette to the pose to the way you can just feel her overwhelming happiness. A good way to show cute young characters is to use rounder, larger shapes and bigger eyes. A little fun fact, when babies are born, their eyes are almost the size of adult eyes, meaning that they change very little over the course of the child's growth period. So especially in the younger years, babies seem to have these adorable huge eyes. Keep this in mind when designing young or cute characters. Shorter, stubbier limbs, rounder stomachs, big heads, and big eyes go a long way toward making that character seem young. Additionally, large pupils are good for happy or cute dragons, and slanted or small pupils are good for angry or surprised dragons respectively. I might go a bit more into expressions in a later video, but I'm getting on a little bit of a tangent here, so. The older your dragon is, the more mature their build is. Longer limbs, longer torso, bigger wings, etc. Regardless of your dragon's physique, their skeleton will still change with regards to basic science, so this should be true of every adult character. Oh man, got on a bit of a tangent there, but I think I wrapped up everything I wanted to talk about. Hopefully that was a good little mix of information and fun. Last but not least, the character giveaway. So I was designing these characters and I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with them, so it occurred to me to just give them away. So I used a random number generator and picked 3 numbers between 1 and 5,000. And here's how you can enter the raffle. Comment below with a code word from the description on this video and 1 number. The winner will be the first person to guess either the number itself or the closest number by next Sunday at noon, when I will make a community post regarding the winners. I'm really excited to finally get to give y'all something and have a little something more interactive, so comment these numbers below and I'll be excited to announce the winners next Sunday at high noon.
know I do to make it through the times we had. I see it now, I see it now.